The rain had just begun when he stepped off the curb and flagged down the first taxi that passed. His shoulders sagged under the invisible weight of unfinished work and a restless mind that had forgotten what calm felt like. When the cab pulled over, he climbed in quickly, giving the driver his destination without even making eye contact. The door closed with a hollow thud, sealing him into a silence that felt heavier than the grey sky outside. He sank back against the seat, watching raindrops race each other across the glass. His thoughts moved just as quickly, tumbling one over the other: deadlines, bills, responsibilities, the gnawing sense that life had become a series of repetitive tasks. Somewhere along the way, he realized he had stopped noticing small things: the sound of rain, the warmth of a smile, the quiet beauty in a stranger's kindness. Now all he could feel was impatience, as if he were always running but never arriving anywhere that mattered. The city outside blurred in streaks of neon and water, a mirror of his mood. He folded his arms and tried to disappear into himself, hoping the ride would be quick. The silence between him and the driver seemed almost intentional, as though two worlds occupied the same small space but refused to acknowledge each other. He wondered if that was what life had become: crowded with people, yet empty of connection. As the cab turned down a narrow street, he caught his own reflection in the window. The face staring back looked tired, older than he remembered, with lines carved not just by time but by worry. It struck him suddenly how long it had been since he had spoken to someone without rushing, without a screen glowing between them, without his mind already leaping ahead to the next thing. That thought carried a strange sting, like realizing you had been drifting for years without noticing. He shifted uncomfortably, sighing, trying to shake off the unease. The driver had yet to say a word, and a part of him was grateful. Small talk felt like another demand, and he was too weary to play along. But another part of him, quiet and almost forgotten, longed for someone to break the silence. It was that part, fragile, hidden, that waited, without even knowing it, for the unexpected words that would soon change everything. The driver cleared his throat softly, as if measuring whether the silence was ready to be broken. His voice, when it came, was low and steady, like the hum of the engine beneath them. He asked simply if the passenger was having a long day. The man hesitated, surprised by the warmth in the question. He gave a half-hearted nod, expecting the conversation to fade, but the driver's tone carried no push, only patience, as if he had all the time in the world to listen. The man glanced at the rearview mirror and met the driver's eyes for the first time. They were framed by lines carved, not by exhaustion, but by a lifetime of smiles and sorrows. There was a calmness in them that unsettled him, as though the driver had lived through storms, yet carried only their wisdom, not their bitterness. The driver spoke again, this time sharing a fragment of his own story. He told how he had once been in a hurry too, rushing through life, working 3 jobs to provide for his family. For years he had measured his worth by how much he earned, how quickly he could move, how little rest he needed. But then, he said, life reminded him that rushing does not stop time, it only blinds you to it. His wife had fallen ill, and he had realized too late that he had missed so many evenings, so many gentle moments, thinking there would always be another chance. The passenger listened, at first politely, then with a growing stillness. The words settled over him like rain soaking into dry earth. He had not expected wisdom in a taxi ride, yet here it was spoken without pride or lecture, just quiet honesty. He shifted his gaze to the window again, but this time the blur of lights felt different. Each passing face on the sidewalk seemed to hold a story he had never bothered to imagine. The driver continued, speaking not as if giving advice, but as if sharing something too precious to keep inside. He said that he had learned to treasure the ordinary, the way sunlight falls across a kitchen table, the sound of his granddaughter's laughter, the brief kindness of a stranger. These, he said, are the things that last, the things that matter when the rushing is done. The man in the back seat felt something stir, an ache he could not name. For the first time in a long while, he was not thinking of deadlines or tasks. He was thinking of his own neglected moments, of calls left unanswered, of mornings that had slipped by unnoticed. The driver's voice was like a mirror, showing him not only the cost of hurry, but also the possibility of another way. The car rolled on, the rhythm of rain against the roof blending with the steady voice from the front seat. The driver paused for a moment before speaking again, as though choosing his words with care. He said that the truest wealth in life is not found in what we store away, but in what we share. He recalled a night when a young woman had stepped into his cab, crying quietly in the back. Instead of asking questions, he had driven in silence until she calmed, then offered her a bottle of water and a gentle word. She thanked him as if he had given her the world. That moment, he explained, reminded him that kindness costs nothing but leaves an imprint that outlives the giver. The passenger sat with the story, feeling the quiet power of it. He thought of his own life. How many times had he walked past someone in need, too absorbed in his own concerns to notice? How many chances for kindness had slipped by because he believed small gestures did not matter? In the stillness of the cab, he felt a heaviness give way to something softer, as if the walls he had built around himself were thinning. The driver did not look back, but his presence filled the space like a steady flame. He spoke of gratitude, of learning to greet each day as a gift, even when it arrives wrapped in struggle. He said that every person who steps into his taxi is carrying a story, and he considers it an honor to share a small piece of their journey. These words settled deep into the passenger's chest, stirring memories of his own encounters, faces and voices he had long forgotten yet now wished he had cherished. By the time the taxi slowed to the curb at his destination, the man felt a quiet change within him. The city lights no longer seemed blurred. They seemed alive, pulsing with meaning he had overlooked. He looked at the driver one last time, noticing the deep calm etched into his expression, a serenity earned not from an easy life, but from a life lived with open eyes. He paid the fare, but before stepping out, he paused. For once, he looked directly at another human being without rushing past the moment. He thanked the driver not just for the ride, but for the reminder that kindness and awareness are the true destinations of every journey. As he walked away into the night, the rain felt lighter, almost cleansing. The ride had been brief, yet it carried a lesson he knew would last long after the storm had passed. Life often speaks in whispers, not in grand declarations. A simple taxi ride, a quiet voice, a moment of connection, these are the threads that weave the deeper meaning we so often chase elsewhere. The passenger left with the same burdens he carried in, yet something within him had shifted. He now saw the world, not as a blur to rush through, but as a gift to notice, one breath at a time. Perhaps that is the lesson for us all, to slow down, to listen, and to let kindness shape our path. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like, share, and leave your thoughts below. And if you wish to journey through more stories of humanity and reflection, don't forget to subscribe to Tales of Kindness for the next chapter.